I'd like to send a shout out to Lungelo, KM, who has an amazing YouTube channel called Engineer Your Life. I'm going to put a link in the description below. I've sat with him 2-3 times now to do interview conversations with Lungelo, and I think he's a really great vodcaster that is going to be blowing people's minds as his career pushes on in that space. One of the things I appreciate about him is in the last time I sat down with him, he brought a female crew to come and film. And I'm always excited when I see females behind the camera, in front of the camera, because some of these spaces are very male dominated. And it's largely because a lot of females are just not interested. They want to be influencers, they want to do makeup, they want to do something else. So to see females at the back manning the cameras, dealing with the sound, editing, I think is pretty dope. I know Nkululeko Culture also has a female team, which I think is pretty dope as well. But this is why I'm telling you about this. One of the ladies, I'm not going to mention her name, one of the ladies that was filming at the back is very young. I think she told me she's about 22, 23 years old. And I saw that she had a ring on her finger. So I asked, are you married? She said, yes, I am. And I asked, why did you get married so young? She explained to me that, she's one of those people that studies the world. She's a curious mind, and she always enjoys learning from other people's mistakes so that she doesn't make the same mistakes. And she said what she's realized is a lot of people struggle with marriage because they either get married too early or too late. And her parents have told her that she's too independent. She doesn't need them for anything. And she realized that a lot of women, especially that are older, struggle with commitment and marriage because they build these lives that are so independent, so self-sustaining, that there's almost no space for a man, a good man, to come in. And she decided for herself that because I have these values, she's religious, I have these values, I would like to build with my person and I would like to commit very early on. And she went and she found an amazing man and they decided to get married at a young age. And when she said that, I was like, so wise, so intelligent at such a young age. And I told her, I have so many conversations with women in particular about this concept of being too independent. What does that mean? What do you mean I'm too independent? Men are never too independent. Yes, you're right. We live in a very gender-biased society. But if one of your dreams in life as a woman is to get married, have a loving husband, but at the same time you are highly ambitious, you want to make a lot of money, you want to have a great career, those two sometimes do clash. And that's not me saying, look, you must dim your ambitions and your aspirations. No, by no means. All I'm saying is be aware and move accordingly. A lot of really successful women today struggle because a lot of men have egos, self-esteem issues. Maybe a good guy, but he's intimidated, of course, by how powerful you are, the car you drive, the house you live in. And realistically, if you have an amazing house and he has a decent house, why must he move into your house? Are you willing to leave your house and move into his? Are you willing to let him dictate certain things, or is it always your way or the highway? Because trust me, by the time you're 30, 35, 40 as a woman, and you are a boss at work and in society, you make your own money, you make your own decisions, it becomes very difficult for you to be compromising on someone else. So which man is going to be fine with that? And a lot of these successful men, they love women who play the support role. They like a woman who's there saying, babe, whatever, you go make the money, I'll sit at home and be a homemaker and look after the kids, whatever. So even if he is rich, way richer than you, he may not want a personality like yours. And it's some of these conversations we need to have in terms of having healthier relationships. A lot of these older women, what ends up happening is they become desperate to have children and they'll almost sleep with anyone. Some of them, of course, get Ben 10s, these young boys that are still in varsity or whatever the case, and they splurge on them. What they don't realize is that some of these young boys, once they start working, once they start making their own money, they no longer want to be dictated to by a sugar mama, a cougar. They also want their own young girl that looks up to them as well. Some of these women, what they end up doing is they date married men and they become a side. So imagine I'm a well-off great man. I make 200,000 Rand a month. I've got a wife who has her own business. She makes 30,000 Rand a month. I'm married to her. We have a great thing going. You come, you're 30, 35 years old. You are an exec at work. You're making 80, 90, 100,000 Rand a month. But you're struggling to find someone to be in a relationship with. And you're happy to be the side chick to this lady that I'm married to, who's maybe even younger than you, who makes way less than you, who is way less accomplished than you, but you become the side chick because you're desperate for companionship and you're desperate to have children. These are the dynamics we're having. So should we look into his tembu? Should some of these women be sharing men? Should some of these women be like, look, I'm actually willing to have men share me as long as they're younger, and I'm willing to maybe give them a boyfriend or a husband allowance. It's a new world that we're in, but here we are because people are not happy. The concept of being too independent and how that might harm you in romantic relationships. And what happens, of course, with some of these men, I've said these stories before. A man meets a woman, just like I mentioned with the Ben 10 and the sugar mama example. A man meets a woman while she's on her come up, he's doing well, and then at some point she starts making money and she sometimes surpasses him. And the marriage or the relationship breaks apart because he's not used to submitting to a woman and she doesn't know how to deal with a guy who earns less and. Too independent. Too independent. Brilliant. We're proud of you. Shine. Mbogoto. But you're miserable. You're unhappy. So at which point do we find a balance, and what does that even look like? Look forward to hearing some of your thoughts around this topic, and I think it's a topic that we need to unpack and peel all the various layers in it. Part of it being the gender biases in the world. Part of it being how do we move in this modern world of relationships where we've got women that can stand their own. Penny all the black pen. Cheers.